Yes, season 2 of Rings of Power. We are
What I
here.
will say off the rip is the personality of the characters
Hmm.
seems to have been released from the shackles of a script. All of the actors seem to have a little bit more freedom to be the character as they see them. It seems less like they've been directed into oblivion, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I would say it's partly they've been given a bit more freedom with their characters, and also I think the writing has improved. And I do think that's partly probably come from they did listen to some of the complaints about season 1 and worked on improving it. Something as well before we get in, I don't know if you noticed, but Adar is a different actor.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, which is
I
good
can't
that you
say I
didn't
didn't
notice.
notice.
Then
Yeah, I didn't. I
I
didn't notice.
I was like, I feel like he looks different, but I couldn't be sure. And it was only later when I was doing research that I then stumbled across the fact that he was recast between. Apparently,
Oh,
the original actor wanted to go off and explore other characters in cinematic worlds. Um,
enough.
whether there's a deeper reason to that, who knows? But I think I forget the actor's name who's taken over. I think the fact that like you didn't even notice um, shows that he did a great job at
Yeah.
carrying on the voice and the kind of style of that character. And obviously, he's
Mhm.
got a lot of practical effect makeup on and stuff, which helps sell that they look similar.
Yeah, for sure.
But we open episode 1 with a very quick recap. I think it was like 3 minutes of season 1.
Yeah,
Um,
which I
but
found very helpful to get me back into what the
I'd
fuck was going
already
on.
watched a 12-minute recap video, which was like everything from season 1 covered as best as possible in the shortest amount of time. But yeah, it was good that they gave a quick recap, kind of covered everything they needed to, like baseline. And then we started with the dawn of the Second Age. Long
Yeah, so we
ago.
got like a little bit of like a flashback, which took
Yeah.
me a second. Because obviously having not like freshly seen season one, I'm
Mm,
still trying to remember what's gone on. And then like Sauron's already changed. And I'm like, but Halbrand hadn't died, so why is he? Can he just change what he looks like willy nilly? If that's the case, why wouldn't he be doing that all the time to fuck with people?
mm,
What's happening here? And then obviously he was like, Morgoth is dead. I was like, wait, this happened a while ago.
yeah. So for refresher, Dawn of the Second Age started right after Sauron's master had been slain and sent to the void. Um, I think in the books so this is up in I forget the name of the place now, but it's in the north of Middle Earth in the icy barrens. I think actually in the books this isn't where Sauron goes, but it would also somewhat make sense because Morgoth's like fortresses and stuff were in the northern mountains. So it kind of works that he would go up there. Um him being in like a fair form is as far as I'm aware and what I've looked up, is somewhat accurate to be expected because he did have that form to try and win over the elves and the men and stuff when he was like manipulating them.
Yeah.
Which then also there are things apparently in the books where not necessarily these orcs, but orcs. There was a faction of orcs that saw him in this and didn't respect him because he looked like mortal man, which kind of leads to why these ones wanted to kill him.
Yeah,
Um,
that kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, but why would they hate him? He's their leader, no, but
if I
the
remember,
rings are obviously in power so that he can control their mind, so
yeah,
that makes.
because it's like he won over the most of the time when he's got the orcs, he's in like the full evil armor, like full showing that power. So there's I'm sure I read this, but it was like orcs from the east when they first met Sauron and he was in this fair form, they didn't like see him as this threat because they knew nothing of all this power that he had and stuff. So then they didn't respect him, which would kind of lean into like why they would not like him. But then we got a good old Caesar salad as Adar turned the crown upside down again. Good
Yeah,
old stab in the shoulders.
it's pretty cold.
Yeah, and then all the orcs just going
Yeah.
jumping in.
And it's also a really good way of explaining why all the orcs like rallied behind Adar for all this time. They're like, you dealt with that motherfucker. Like, yeah.
Yeah. They see him as like, oh, you just killed this guy that we're meant to be scared of how powerful he is. And then also you've just said you've set us free. So yeah, we're your boys now. I liked how they kind of then showed in his death of that mortal form is what created the icy landscape. I thought that was very cool. And obviously turned it into that place, which is where Galadriel went in season 1.
Yeah. Just to make sure I've understood something correctly, when he comes back as Halbrand, we kind of get caught up on what he was doing on the ship when we met him in season 1.
Yes.
Am I right in thinking and remembering correctly, the thing that he dashed off your man's neck when he was dying was what he's used to claim he was the lost king?
That's what he's realized what that was. Saw, and then was like, she's run with that without, if you remember in season 1, he didn't really say he was a king. She ran with that and he never disagreed with it because he obviously knew.
I thought that's what it was, but I was like, am I remembering correctly? Okay, cool. So that was him.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if this is just the way the story is supposed to be told. It seems like a lot of the time Sauron lucks himself into these situations.
It's a bit of, so it's tough because some of it can be seen as luck, or he could be manipulating things on a grander scale.
Yeah, and this is where I'm struggling to see like the big picture. I'm like, is he just? I'm trying to work out if he's like a master improviser. Who's like, right, I'm a human dude. That looks like a royal sigil. I can probably do something with that. Or if he's like, I'm going to kill that man because that is a royal sigil and I can manipulate people with that. I'm trying to work out if he's MacGyvering his way through Middle Earth.
I think you kind of see when he takes it, there's like a very sinister look at that old man who's like pinned and dying, and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to take this and let you die. It's because at that point, like, that old man's told him what it is. And I do think there's a certain sense of, this will be useful to me in potentially manipulating people in a certain way. I think it's a lot of like, he will take he will take things he comes across and use them to then manipulate to get things going his way. But like, between that, obviously we got symbiote Sauron, which I was like, it's not what I ever envisioned of Sauron being without a mortal body.
But it's an artistic choice.
Yeah, and I don't hate it, and I think it helps a bit more visually. And it also kind of leans in with the black blood. We see his veins always popping, like this black goo everywhere. It all kind of ties it into this same sort of like evil. I always kind of pictured Sauron would probably be some like more like spirit-esque form.
Yeah.
Like a Death Eater or something.
They've definitely gone for more of like this looks like pure evil vibe.
Yeah. There was a couple of moments where I was like, this feels a little goofy, like when he was rolling down the mountainside or sliding through the snow and doing like little flops. I'm like, I get what you're going for, but it just felt a little goofy at points.
Yeah.
I don't hate
tricky.
It. Yeah.
Especially when you're adapting a book and like,
it's not an
insane amount of description.
I don't think in the books it's ever really described what he's like without mortal form.
So you've just got to try and
it's just this. I'm pretty sure
whoever's in the art room makes that decision, don't they?
I'm pretty sure it's just described as like his form is pure evil. Yeah, and it's like, well, what? Yeah, you just got to be creative with it. I don't hate it. I think it works for this. It also helps like visualize a bit better of him like regaining strength by like absorbing all these different creatures and then the human, which then lets him have a human form again. Or enough strength to turn himself into a human form. But yeah, that
Absolutely.
whole bit with the boat, I enjoyed it because it was showing a bit more of a sinister, like evil side, and kind of helps us. Now we know it is Sauron. It makes you realize a lot of the things in season one were him manipulating things on
Yeah.
purpose, which then also makes me question the bit when the boat goes down. So he grabs the sigil, whatever. He's in the water. He quite clearly scares off the sea dragon,
Hmm.
um, and has some control over it. Do you now think that he called that back to attack them when they were on the raft because he wanted them to end up in the water
Maybe.
and wanted them to then end up in Numenor? Like
Very
all
possible.
all
Or
that could
maybe
be
he
just
just,
him manipulating things.
yeah, or it could just be a case of he knew it was there and just chose not to do anything this time.
Mm. Which
Yeah,
helps
you're
then
absolutely
sell that
right.
he's just a normal guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times now, and I think throughout this whole first episode, you see it a few times. Well, the first two, and I think we're going to see it a lot this season. Now we know it is Sauron. We get to enjoy watching him manipulate and trick people, and actually see how evil this character is.
Yeah. Like, it is. I'm so angry on Elrond's behalf. Because my guy is thinking with his brain. He's like, what?
He
What
is
are
the
we
only
doing here?
one that is seeing through it all and is
Yeah.
actual logical. Yeah,
My
which
guy's
will
playing chess, everyone else is playing tiddlywinks.
which we get to obviously like after that flashback, we get the title card,
Yeah.
and then we're on. Galadriel and Elrond are off chasing each other to go tattle on the other to Daddy Gilgalad.
Yeah.
I feel
Also,
like
this king is dog shit. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. I know we're
okay.
on the hot takes bit yet. I'm gonna give
Okay.
you a hot take. Elves are infuriatingly obnoxious and dumb. Yeah, we get it. You
Yeah,
can live for thousands of years and you're very
that's
intelligent and you understand the sciences a lot better. Cool. If I lived for as long as an elf, I would not be that up my own arse.
yeah. Welcome to elves.
Elrond is the only based one, and that's probably why he can get on with other species because he's the only one who has a brain cell.
The funny thing is, that's not a hot take. That is just elves. That is elves most of the
I'm making
time.
my own fantasy world where elves aren't so fucking infuriating.
um, but yeah, they obviously they have their little horseback chase, which I saw someone online made a good point, which was like, if they've been chasing each other from, um, oh my god, I'm forgetting what the city was called, uh, Eregion, where they
Yeah.
made the rings, all the way to Linden. That's quite a long way for a horse to be running it like that. That's like a several hour ride of chasing each other. That horse probably wouldn't be alive. But obviously, like,
Horse drugs.
you don't have the concept in that moment. They're not trying to sell you on the idea. It's been going on for ages. But I liked in this whole reveal of how Galadriel accidentally brought in Sauron and basically all coming out to Gil-galad showed. I like that he was a bit more like push, like kick back on you fucked up sort of thing, and her
Big
getting
stuff.
called out for her actions finally, which I think is a good step forward for the people that had issues with her character in season one. That I do think if this continues throughout this season, she is going to progress into the character we expect her to be.
Yeah.
And not this like self-righteous know-it-all.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I have a note like Elrond is 100% right to not trust the rings. Like he is the one with the logical head on.
Yeah. And the thing is, he's not even being like, "Oh, you guys are dumb. Listen to me." He's just like, "Should we think about this?"
The thing is,
Like,
Elrond's 100% right, but I do also feel like Gil-galad makes a very fair point in if they don't use these rings, they do Middle Earth. They have to leave, and they do Middle Earth to Sauron.
but is that not really egotistical to think you're the only people who have potentially got a chance? I'd like to point out the
Yes,
hobbits did all the hard work in the end.
I'm not disagreeing, but like later on, yes. I mean, the elves did defeat this Sauron, which makes him into the eye or whatever. But like, it's part of like they know they have the means to help. So I think it's like if you know your forces are a good match for Sauron and could help the people of Middle Earth, but then you leave anyway, is a bit of a dick thing to do.
Remind me again though, with this tree, that's just what keeps them able to live forever on Middle Earth, correct?
Yes.
So, like,
If
what's their lifespan without the tree? If they get to live
No,
like
I think
600 years without the
no,
tree,
I think it's normal like human lifespan.
it still gives them like 60 years to sort Sauron out
Yeah,
and
but they're
also
elves.
fix the tree.
They don't they like
Do you
to
know what
live
this makes
forever.
me think of? And I'm going to go back to my favourite fantasy, Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Okay.
Um, in Fantasy High, Fabian's grandfather, who's like, I don't know, I could get this done pretty quick, like, I don't know, 2-3 centuries. Is that quick? I don't know. How long do you live for? Like, is that too slow? Do you need me to do it faster?
Mm.
Like, that's what it's giving me right now, and that just doesn't play into the whole elves are intelligent.
Yeah. There's also like the other part which is a bit messed up with how season one did the rings, but it also, if you're following the books, like Gil-galad, they make a good point. I think it's Gil-galad says it that like, or at least Galadriel says these rings weren't made by Sauron, and like so in the books, obviously it's not Halbrand, it's Anatar, and it's more his methods are taught to Celebrimbor, Celebrimbor then makes the rings on his own for the elves. So they're not made by Sauron. So they are inherently good rings, but only when the creation of the One Ring do they then become controlled and corrupted.
So, right now, they are absolutely fine,
Yes.
is the idea. But essentially, I'm going to put this in computer terms because my brain will work better that way. Essentially, they have a back door in them that
Yes.
just needs the One Ring to be made to exploit it.
Yeah. And I think the way they're getting around a bit of season one stuff of like how Brand was there is that they're getting these dodgy visions.
Yeah.
But so elves have something called foresight, which is like a power to see the future.
Yeah.
The rings aren't inherently like give you powers, they just heighten your power. So
So,
that's why Galadriel and Gil-galad are having these visions now more because it's heightened their foresight.
okay, so does that mean that hobbits can go invisible?
The One
Normally?
Ring, I don't know
Okay.
if that might be slightly different.
That might just be the One Ring
But
fucking
it
about.
also
Okay.
kind of plays into the idea that the hobbits are a forgotten, like unknown thing.
Yeah, they're really good at just
Often
disappearing.
people don't see them, so it essentially heightens that to actually make them invisible.
Yeah. The hobbits are essentially like partially imperceivable naturally, so it just heightens that. I guess
So
that makes sense.
it's like Elrond's right. These are clearly part of Sauron's plan. We shouldn't trust them, but also they are in this weird grey area of they are good to have and they can be used for good. Only when the One Ring's made later on will they be
Okay,
bad.
so here's the thing. So these rings are stopping the tree from dying.
Yes, they essentially together those three rings give life force to this
Cool.
tree.
Counterpoint.
Go on.
What if we don't let the king, who has to make the decisions, wear the ring that might corrupt him, and you literally just choose 3 people, like Dumb and the Dumbest, who cannot provide anything to our society, and go, your job is to wear this ring and nothing else? Because then you're going to disregard their opinion regardless. It doesn't matter. If they start saying things that sound a bit too intelligent for them, you're just like, where did you come up with that idea?
I mean, at the moment, the two dodgy ones is Galadriel and Gil-galad having them. Because like you say, they like having the king have one of these rings is a bit the character that we got introduced to of Círdan, the ship builder, who has the third one. We'll get a bit more into him, but he's actually pretty good at being a neutral, solid, like very wise person.
Yeah, no, but like, do you want your wisest people, like your trusted advisors, to be wearing these rings when they might be corrupted
I'm
by them?
like the older, wiser elves have probably a better strength of resisting that corruption.
No. I get that part, but would you not be better off giving them to some dickhead who you're not going to listen to? Like, your job is just to protect the tree. Wear this ring to protect the tree. We will keep making decisions about how we function as a society.
Depends how like what they start doing on the sly. Those rings, like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
two of those rings get like Gil-galad's ring goes to Elrond. That's the ring that Elrond gets,
Mm-hmm.
and if I remember correctly, Círdan's ring gets given to Gandalf, and I forget what Gandalf does with it. I don't know if he
Yeah.
actually does wear it or not.
Maybe I do just need to read the Lord of the Rings. How long does it take to
So
read the Lord
like,
of the Rings?
I mean, then you're giving one of the most powerful rings to a wizard. Power corrupts people, makes them do. I mean, look
But
at.
like,
Oh well, we'll get it.
but
But
like, would someone like Gandalf and like the Blue Elves not be immune to the powers of something that's less than them?
no, because you know,
Although I
remember,
get the One Ring's more powerful,
yeah,
but
but like, so all those ring, like, it's still a dangerous power for anyone to have.
got
Um, the
got you,
wizards
got you,
maybe
got
are
you.
the least corruptible, but there's still chance that it
But
corrupts
it would
them.
still get to them.
Um,
The only person who is incorruptible is your weirdo who we're meeting at some point, who's
yeah.
just neutral as fuck about everything.
Um,
Imagine being so neutral that ultimate power can't corrupt you. What a goat.
but it's like we have that whole thing with them talking about the rings and what they should do, and then Elrond obviously jumps off the waterfall.
Yeah, that
Um,
was dope. That was cold.
yeah,
Just so we're clear.
such a great exit.
Yeah.
Then we get to go to. So when we get Halbrand, oh yeah, he's giving himself up as prisoner to Adar. Um,
Yes.
Quite clearly, that whole thing of
Yeah.
him being there is all him just manipulating Adar.
Yeah.
Um,
So of such obvious manipulation, but like it's really well thought out.
well, and also great for us as a viewer because, like, going back to what I said at the beginning of now we know Halbrand is Sauron. It's fun seeing his manipulation. Adar doesn't
Mhm.
know that, so we are seeing him manipulate the person that killed him, and he's unknowingly there talking to the guy that he's already murdered once.
Yeah.
Um,
I think what I struggle with this world is the magic is very magical in the sense of innate and not very like sorcery based. So
yes,
trying to understand the logic of it is really difficult.
yeah, it's
So
very
like later on
mystical.
when they're talking about, oh, he's already deceived you, so now you're impossible to not be deceived. I'm just like, wait, how? What happened to fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, or whatever the fuck? What the fuck is this all about?
Yeah, because he's found a way in. It then essentially like he has. It's like the back door thing. It's like, oh, he's gone in the like he's found a way in. Now he has a key, and you can't stop him. It's
Yeah.
Sauron's manipulation is very powerful.
I feel like that's all like. And don't get me wrong, it's clearly very effective. But I feel like innately that's all he has. He's just like you really like. He's the
Oh
king
yeah,
of Jedi mind tricks.
he is, and then also like he has his fucking crazy magical shit like the frost stuff. Like he
Yeah.
can do crazy shit, but yeah, a lot of his stuff is he is great at manipulating. I'm trying to think. We get then we cut to our good old friend the stranger, who I have theories about in episode 2, which we'll get to.
Cool.
But he talks
He
about
has so much more personality this season, by
yeah.
the way.
So we in this episode that he's talking about his dream, if I remember. Yeah, him and Nori are
Yes.
talking about his dream, and then they start talking about Nori's like missing home, and the home he's mentioning is Valinor, which is where the wizards are from. So it's like
Yeah.
he's trying to remember that.
He's aware of it innately, but not
Yeah,
fully.
because he's lost his memory. It's like obviously it's still there. It just needs to be unlocked. Same with his name, which they're trying to do in episode 2. But yeah, we
Yeah.
get this kind of they're journeying east, which plays into some of the theories I'm reading and stuff. But yeah, he definitely has more personality now. He's speaking, and there's a bit more back and forth.
Yeah, there's a bit more like it's not quite banter, but there's a bit more kinship between him and Nori, which gives
Yes.
him just so much. Instead of just being this big bumbling buffoon that she's trying to protect, there's
Yeah.
a bit more like, oh, this is 12 million hours of walking in a straight line. Let's have a bit of a laugh when we're not
Yeah,
nearly
it
dying.
shows that they've actually grown like a rapport over this
Yeah.
journey. Yeah.
Which I really, really liked. It felt a bit alien at first. I'm like, whoa, you weren't behaving like that last season. But it's really nice, actually.
Then we go back to Adar and that. And going back with the Adar, I find it hilarious that Waldrick, the old guy, is like the hype guy for Adar, who
Yeah.
he's now worshipping. And then
Yeah.
also he's now beating up the guy that he wanted to worship, but doesn't know that he's beating up Sauron.
Yeah. Because this is the guy we saw in season 1 who's like an old Morgoth follower, because
in the village,
men
yeah, and
followed Morgoth before, didn't
and
it?
he's like that kid. He's the one that stole the sword and went and opened the
Yeah.
dam. He's like secretly obsessed with Sauron. But yeah, I found it fun. I've just found it funny that he's like the hype guy with all these orcs around. And his demise at the end is funny. But Sauron,
Really funny.
I also liked that seeing that evil side of Sauron with his black speech, and he gets the warg on his side. And then all
is it really bad that I wanted to pet the pupper?
Let me pet that dog.
Can I pet that dog?
And
Literally
that's
me.
not a dog to pet. But yeah, I get what you mean. The wargs are like, oh, but he's just a little angry dog.
He just wants to, especially when he sat like a good boy. I'm like, oh, look at the boy.
But then like all that manipulation around Adar, where he's like, did you notice that like he doesn't directly say he will worship Adar? He's like, I will worship the one true leader of the. Like the way he words it, it's very clearly him getting around saying Adar, and he actually means himself.
This is what I'm trying to work out. Because of like choices of words like that, is he like incapable of lying? Is there like some rule where if he says something, it is therefore true, therefore he has to be really careful? Or is he just like a little drama queen who loves to like point back and go, oh, see, I was careful.
I think it's partly more just for us viewers to be like, oh look, he's manipulating him. He's not quite saying the right thing.
You think it's a storytelling device rather than a plot point?
I think he is like very careful in what he says and how he manipulates.
Because you could read the way he talks as, oh, if he says something, he has to be like true to his word.
I get what you mean.
Which is why he's like dancing around the word so much. Because he does it in episode 2 with Calibrand. Calibrand?
Yeah,
no.
Calibrimble.
Is it Calibrand? Calibrimble.
Yes.
Fucking Halbrand and Calibrand. He's like dancing around the words again, and I was trying to work out if that was like a character thing or if, like you said, it's just a way to show the manipulation.
I think it's this show's way of trying to help us see the manipulation a bit.
Yeah, I guess if he just straight up lied to them, it wouldn't come across as manipulation. It would come across as lying to them.
It helped.
Okay,
like,
that makes sense.
That's what I kind of picked up on. And then we kind of go from there. We got to see the Grey Havens, which, if you recall to the end of the Lord of the Rings, that's where they get on the ships to go off to Valinor. Yes, Valinor.
Okay.
Where Bilbo goes and gets on the ship and goes with the elves. That's the location. I will say, knowing that like in the Lord of the Rings, it's this grand like built up place in that like little valley. There's not much there, and the elves have been around for a while. I was kind of like expected a bit more, if that makes sense.
Maybe when they all start dying because of like,
maybe they need more. They're like, oh shit, we need to get off this place. Let's build this up more so we can have more shit. Yeah, maybe. It just, like, don't get me wrong, it looks great. Like the visuals of this show do invoke like
it looks a lot nicer than season 1 as well. There's something about, I think it's just a lighting or an artistic choice or something, but it feels more pleasant on the eyes.
But then we got introduced to Círdan, who is a big lore character in the books. As I've mentioned, he is one of the ones that holds the original rings. Fun fact, did you pick up on the fact that he's the only elf with a beard?
Yes, I didn't realise I did, but now that you said it, yes, I thought there was something off about him. I was like, he doesn't look very elfly, and yeah,
So
that's what it is. He's got a beard. Why
through
does he
my
have a beard?
research, because I knew of Curdon,
Is
I
he
think I'm saying
part
that right.
dwarf?
No, so he is one of two elves to ever have a beard because he is that old that he has been able to now grow one. He is
Oh,
like elves don't usually get to the age where they can start growing a beard.
why not? They can't die.
So they go in like life cycles, but they can die. We've seen them die in Middle Earth,
Mm.
or they
But like, I mean,
leave.
like they no. Sorry, misspoke. Yes, they can die, but like they don't like age to death.
No, but I think in most cases they die in some means before they ever get to this point.
Are elves just like jackass all the time? So they're like going up ladders and they just don't give a fuck, it's tricky, and they
I
fall down
think
and break their neck.
because they're these they always end up fighting other really powerful beings, and that leads to just a lack of old age in elves, in elven
Yeah,
terms. But
relatively
like,
speaking.
yeah, I think what I read was like he's in his third life cycle, which is why he is, and like he has been on. He was one of the first elves, like born on the shores or whatever. Like he has been in Middle Earth since the get go, and he was actually the last to leave Middle Earth on the last ship. Like he
Got
stayed
ya.
right to the bitter end. But yeah, so him having a beard was, which is why, like now you, if thinking about it, like yeah, he looks a bit off.
It's a very good way to show he's older. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, I mean, it's a very generic way just in storytelling to show someone's older. Give them a white beard.
and
And how do you do
from
that with elves?
yeah, from what we've had so far of him in the show, and from what I know of the character, he is coming across great. I think he is coming across as this more older, wiser elf, has lived through a lot, has like less worry about the yearly issues going on, and is just grand picture kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
he's a lot more big picture.
Like the conversation between him and Elrond, I thought was really nice, where like he mentions like his father would be proud of how and he says, "You realize us destroying the rings means we're dooming Middle Earth," and Elrond's like, "Yeah, I'm okay with that," and he goes, "Okay, cool, that's fine with me then." Like he's more about like as long as you know you're doing what's right for you, like yeah, I trust you. He's very
Yeah,
laid.
maybe that's what we need. Maybe elves, like when the elves are young, they're just kind of cool. Then when they're elven middle aged, they just become really up their own arse because
Yeah,
they're
they're
like,
like, "Oh, I've
I've been
lived for a
alive for
while."
two
Yes,
thousand years, and then you get like 3 or 4 thousand years, and they become these wise dudes who are like, you
none of
got to
that
do what makes
matters.
you got to do what makes your soul sing, brother. Forget all that noise. You want to go whittle trees into birds? You do that, brother. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm just gonna be here carving ships.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's the problem with elves. We
I
either
have
need
to
to kill
say,
them. They're
I'm
2000s of their teenage years. That's the thing.
yeah, like I think from what I know of the character, and maybe people, I presume, I would like to think that everyone feels this way, but they've done a good job with him, and actually he feels like the most elven out of all of them. Um, and then we get we oh Poppy catches up with Nori, and that
Yes.
she is the Sam for Nori. We thought they weren't going to do that in season one, but psych, they just waited till season two.
Is it even a Lord of the Rings story if there isn't two hobbits causing chaos with a wizard? Come on.
Yeah, I know, right? I thought it was cool that she's back, and I like that they brought the walking song back. I thought, and the fact that it actually has, it's not just a song they sing while they're going along. There is actually reason to this song that these hobbits have.
I don't know if it makes any sense in the lore. I don't know if it works at all. I don't know if people would like this. What I want is I want it at the end of the show to be revealed that Nori is a descendant of Bilbo and
Oh, it wouldn't
his
surprise
uncle.
me if there's some like family lineage tied in.
It needs to be done. I need in my head to believe that Gandalf has checked in every generation or so to
As
take
if this
someone
is
from that
Gandalf.
lineage. It's Gandalf. To take everyone on that lineage on a little adventure, and like some of them might just get a really shit adventure, like I need to go get milk, but some of them get to like destroy Sauron, and like that's the dice you roll. You just like when you're like 35 as a hobbit, they're just like Gandalf will be coming any day now to cause chaos with you. Behave wisely.
I know what you mean. We then, so they're heading to the east, in Ruin, and you see like when it's nighttime, and he's like, "Oh, I've been here in a dream," and you can see in the landscape they did the text ruin. I forget how to say it now. I think it's rune. The interesting thing is, so looking that stuff up. Sauron actually fled to the east in the books,
Oh,
which maybe is why there's this like flag with an eye. Maybe that's their way of showing him his influence is there still, even though hasn't seen like, because what we've seen of the flashback with Halbrand, he clearly didn't go to the east at any point.
Yeah.
So maybe they're trying to show it in a different way, which I'm okay with. We'll see. But that's kind of where things then ended. I think it finished off with Sauron leaving Adar, and you hear the Warg kill Waldrick or whatever. I thought episode 1 was a good return, and like they already seemingly are addressing some of the character issues, and like we said at the beginning, like feels like characters have a bit more freedom, maybe a bit written a bit better to kind of show a bit more of who they should be.
Good one was very much, in my opinion, okay, this is what's happening right now. These are the things that people need to be doing, and go.
Yeah, I would agree.
And for that reason, I preferred episode 2 much more, as well as we got my dwarfy friends back, and I love them. And Disa is my goat.